I sometimes get this question from regular people, and they ask me which country is actually leading the way in terms of renewables in Africa. That's what I get on a regular basis. So, because probably they have a genuine interest into the sector, genuine interest into the industry, and they like to find out a little bit more about that. So, I decided today I was just going to talk about that to give you what I think, but I'm just going to focus on the electricity part. Is it okay? Excellent. So, but before we dive into that, let me just first of all reintroduce myself, just in case you do not know me, if you still do not know me. So, my name is Tony Teo. I'm the founder and CEO of Renewables in Africa, and I job here. So, first of all, we are your global clean energy champion, right? Our job here is very simple. Our job is to make sure that we demystify the renewable energy sector for you, so that wherever you're joining from, so you are able to connect and to make sure that you can make sense of the industry, because we know that you could be coming from different angle. You can be an investor looking to pour money into the sector, but you're missing the critical information that allow you to take informed decision. Or you could be a business looking at decarbonizing your operation and wanting to make sure that also you can play your part in the fight against climate change, but you're still missing that information, or you're just not sure, right? You're uncertain. Same thing here. You'll find in here all the information you're looking for. Or you could be a professional, right? So in the sector, operating in another field, but wanting to play your part, wanting to join by the industry, and you don't know from which angle you want to do it from. Same thing in here, in our platform, Renewables in Africa, you get all the information that you're looking for. Absolutely. Just take a look at all the multiple videos that we've done so far, right? And you can take a look at on any platform, because we have 5 platforms from which we are broadcasting from at the same time right now. So we have LinkedIn. Definitely, there's a number of you watching me from LinkedIn. We have YouTube. Definitely, if you're on YouTube, you want to subscribe to that, right? Press the bell notifications. And we also have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Telegram, and like I say, we have 5 channels. I definitely want to make sure that you subscribe. So that's your first job. That's the first job that I'm asking you to do. The second is just for you to contribute, right? To leave a comment and to tell us you like or do not like, or maybe give you your opinion. I can tell you, for example, for next week, I already know what we're going to talk about, simply because I asked a question on LinkedIn, and I was asking basically what is the response to that question that I asked was regarding a river, a famous river, right, the longest river in the planet. And one of you responded, and definitely she actually suggested a topic that we can look at for next week, which was actually the price. And I say that obviously the person that was giving the right answer was going to get as a prize the opportunity to choose a topic they want us to discuss for next week. And now we have a winner, definitely, right? And this is what we're going to be doing. And the third thing that I want you to do, simply to share this video, right? To share that with people that you know may find it interesting, want to engage, do not know how to come across us, by sharing this already how you're participating, because it's all about not only learning but also applying that and make sure that all the people around you get the information so you actually reach the critical mass. So if you don't do that, there's only going to be a few of us that know the information, and we're not going to go very far, right? So that's the idea behind it. I definitely want you to be sharing this, right? Brilliant. Now let's tap into the topic per se, right? So today we're talking about the countries that are leading the way in Africa, and this is a question that I get on a constant basis, right? Because I guess people clearly wants to have an idea. Well, maybe because as an investor, you want to have an idea, where can I go and invest my money? Because I believe that there is opportunity there, just based on the fact there is already an existing market. And if there's already an existing market, most likely as well, the regulation in that country may be a lot more suitable for me. Because one thing that you want to know, for example, when you invest in money into the sector, most of the time it tends to be on a long-term basis, medium to long-term, ready on the short term, right? So you want to have an idea on how things going to happen going forward, and you want to make sure that you can recoup your money, right? So if your company, same thing as well, you want to get an understanding, is the regulation, for example, favorable for me to be able to doing what I want to be doing? Is there already market? Do I have skills in the country, right? In order that you get a little sense by knowing which country are leading the way, because most likely in those countries, most likely you're going to find a market, most likely you're going to find a suitable skill set, workforce that can help you there. Most likely you're going to find people you can talk to around that, right? So that's kind of the reason what you want to know. And like I said, the first thing you want to do if you get into the sector or you start looking at it, is just to develop that knowledge and get a bigger and a better global picture. Then you know how to make your move. If you don't do that, you just have that narrow-minded approach, right? And it's kind of restricts you significantly in what you can do. So that is why we want to talk to you about the countries that are leading the way in terms of renewables energy. Again, so when we're talking about renewables energy, sometimes as well, I know I'm sort of guilty of that too. So we tend to have like a narrow view as well because we're only talking about the power sector. I know I'm going to talk about power sector right now, but at least I want to just attract your attention to the fact that, in fact, renewable energy, clean energy is much wider than that, right? You don't just have the power sector. You also have transport, which is a significant portion as well. And you have anything that is heating and cooling, another very, very big part. I just want to make sure that it's good. Because in this topic today, we focus only on the electricity part, the power sector, right? And even on the power sector, again, here, I'm going to focus on the generation part, just generation also, because there's a whole lot of other questions regarding the transmission and distribution. Actually, that's a topic that I suggest we had because that's again another big topic that we want to look at. So I want to talk to you about it, the countries that usually are leading the way with regard to that, right? So let me share some very quick uh information here so that will help us to understand, right? Because one thing that we don't know or we don't always realize is that there are a lot of countries, you know, in the continent that actually have the electricity coming from a renewable energy source, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because on a regular basis, I get to conversation to panels where the questions revolves around, you know, how suitable renewables is to drive industries, right? So why I appreciate the question, I believe that it may be helpful at times to specify, to be specific, right? And I tell you why in a minute, right? If you talk about renewable, are you talking about the whole sector or are you talking about solar and wind? You want to be specific. Why? Because solar and wind, the regular criticism is that it's intermittent, right? So we're not sure we're always going to get it when we need it, right? Which is a fair point, right? At night you may not have solar and we're not sure that storage is a decent and because at the moment it still can be a little bit expensive. That's a fair point, but because of that, people tend to sort of pull all the sectors, right, all the other sources into the same basket, which is a little bit dangerous. So when we ask the question, for example, whether renewables can address base load or renewable can drive industry, I think it's a sort of inaccurate question. We don't even need to ask the question, right? And I tell you why just right now. So let me share my screen. So first of all, I want to tell you that there are much countries with at least 90% of the electricity coming from renewables. So when you see that, immediately you understand that, okay, if it's 90% of electricity coming from renewables, I don't even need to ask whether industry are driven with that. I don't even need to ask whether base load is coming from that, right? The question now, is it enough? That's another question, right? So is it sufficient? Clearly not, but at least, right, the basis or the start of the question should be, I would say, revised, right? So yes, there's actually eight countries, yes, sorry. I was showing the wrong number. 8 countries that have more than 90% electricity coming from renewables, right? And that's what I want to show you. The first one is Central African Republic. So you can see here the percentage is 96%, right, coming from renewables, electricity power generation, which is quite impressive. You have DR Congo, right? So 98%, 99% almost. Oh, by the way, those data that I'm sharing with you, that actually from 2019, right? And you can find it from different sources, one of which will be the Ibrahim report that was released on July 2022, just to tell you where the source is coming from, right? So if you want to go and check yourself. Then you have Eswatini. Some of you may still not know that country, but it's Swaziland, in the former Swaziland. Obviously, they reverted back to the original name, I guess, Eswatini. That's how it's called right now. Almost 100%, right? Coming from renewables. Ethiopia, all of it, from renewables. It's impressive, right? I don't. Did you know that, by the way? So if you know that, just drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Or if you did not know that, hey, there you go. So what does it tell you, right? So are you impressed, not impressed? At least you can see, right? I'm not saying by all means that all of it is enough, and then we don't need to have another debate, so on and so forth. Clearly, nobody's saying that. But I just say, sometimes when we kick off and start the discussion, it's good to be looking at facts. When we're looking at facts, it allowed us to make, let's say, a proper argument that sort of makes sense a little bit, right? And then Lesotho, so again, yeah, almost 100% renewables, as we can see. Mozambique, 95% renewables from electricity. That's electricity generation, right? Let me just specify again. I'm not saying that the whole actually energy use is renewable. I say electricity and the generation. I'll specify that. At least it gives you an understanding where we stand from. So Namibia, 91%, and Uganda, close to 98%, right? So that is, those are the 8 countries that are 90% electricity coming from renewables. But Central African Republic, DR Congo, Eswatini, Ethiopia, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, and Uganda, right? So this is what you need to know. So it is important to understand that, right? That actually a lot of this country will come from it. So we're starting for this country. We started already from a very high base. So you may be asking yourself, so okay, what kind of renewable is this? Because we didn't know that before, right? So that comes as a shock for some of us. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you it's coming out of shock, but that is what you need to know. Because I was at a conference this week, which is the AFSIC, so one of the largest investment conference on Africa, based outside of Africa. And there's a gentleman. So when I made this kind of comment, so he put me on the side, right? And he was from Uganda. He was like, because I made those comments saying that Uganda has more than 95% renewables. He put me on the side to say, okay, so what do you mean exactly? And I had to explain to him what I mean in terms of electricity generation. But he was from the country, he did not know that. You already want to know this kind of fact just to know from where you started from. So that's where when you're hearing comments saying that it can't power industries, right, and then it doesn't provide base load, you can challenge it. You can challenge it, not just made of some, I would say, thought that you've had, just based on fact, right? And that source that we see is hydro. Like I said, 60%, no, sorry, 60 years since independence, we've had that. Clearly, it is not enough. Get me right. And clearly doesn't mean that there's not a lot of problem linked to that, but at least need to be known. So you see, there's a lot of country there that are to be commended for what they're doing. But we're not just going to stop the conversation here, right? But there is another thing that I'd like to share with you. Let me just see if I can look at that. Yeah. Basically, these are the countries that you see already kind of quite advanced in terms of the energy generation. But even going a little bit further, right? We know also that some Africa, so obviously beyond hydro, some African countries are also leading the way in terms of renewables energy. You want to know, for example, a country like, especially new forms of renewables, whether you're talking about solar, talking about wind, biomass, and so on and so forth. For example, a country like Namibia. So Namibia has 1/5 of the electricity generated from solar. 1/5, that's close to 20%, right? That's generated from solar. And Namibia is actually well positioned if you look at it worldwide, because a country like Australia, very good sun there. The solar energy penetration in the country, that's with regard to figure that coming from the IEA, the International Energy Agency, it's over 15%. Spain is over 14%, or Greece is over 13%, right? So that you want to know. And for example, Greece, I published an article earlier this week where I was saying that I think it was this week or the week before, Greece ran for managed to provide 100% energy electricity supply from solar for 5 hours, right? So which was kind of an achievement, right? It's clearly not already 24 hours, but 5 hours, it's already quite impressive, right? That means that things are moving in the right direction from there. So yeah, so Namibia, like I say, the solar penetration over there, 20%, that's actually quite admirable. And also when you're looking at another country that is quite impressive, is Kenya. Kenya, 46% of the electricity generation come from, geothermal, right? So, and by the way, 46% in terms of the percentage, this is more than, in terms of geothermal, right? This is more than any other country in the world. So you got to know that. You want to know that. You want to be proud of that. So you want to be able to showcase that. That means that, okay, this country, so what they now have to do, how can they build on what they have already to go even further and achieve the full electrification, right, for the country, and also drive the industry, right? But where they started from already, that's something that needs to be recognized and also appreciated, right, and celebrated, not always criticizing. Yeah. And I mentioned most of the countries that I mentioned. So as I say, when we see the night with 90% access to electricity coming from renewable, a lot of them, that renewables actually come from hydropower, right? So in 21 of the 52 countries, so if you remove Namibia and Kenya, they have hydropower that come from, the hydropower is the primary source of electricity. Yeah. And I actually have a nice map that I can show with you, which is sharing that, so that you could see and appreciate what those countries are. So let me share this map with me. So by the way, so everything I've said there, so if you have any comment, any question, drop in there. I'm just going to pick up some questions because I like to have some questions sometimes, right? So allow us to bounce idea a little bit. So let me share with you. So that map that you could see, and hopefully, yeah, excellent. I have the map with me. There you go. Bam, bam, bam. That's the map. Hopefully you can see. Yeah. And by the way, this is just one page of that report that I told you about, which is the Ibrahim Forum report, right? So it's it's a report that was uh, uh, requested by the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. So, and it's called the Road to COP27. So I guess it was the question was around, because COP27 is going to be in Egypt, isn't it? Right, starts on the 6th of November, so not long ago, in about 3 weeks' time, right? And clearly, because it's African soil, so something very important. And they've sort of requested a report, right, in order to understand, first of all, from where we started from. So looking at some fact and sort of make some analysis and end up with some recommendation. And I definitely recommend you to read this report, because that's the other thing. So we sometimes have, let's say, excellent reports, like that around. We just don't take the time to read it, and we rather go and just get some sound bites here and there, some headlines, right? And just base our discussion around that. Maybe it could be helpful to look at times some reports there, look at the research that people have put together, then to start actually framing your viewpoint. That is just my suggestion, right? You may disagree. But this map, what it shows us here, is a 22 country that's already using renewables as their main source. And the great thing here, so you could see here the legend. So it tells us what is what. Obviously, everything that is blue, that's hydro. Can you see how significant it is? There's a lot of it, right? So, and obviously, the one here that is not hydro that you see is geothermal. This is Kenya. And all around that Rift Valley, you're going from Ethiopia, Sudan, all the way down to Mozambique. I guess maybe a little bit of South Africa. That's what is the Rift Valley as well. So that you will have a lot of geothermal resources there, but only Kenya has really tapped into that properly. So those other countries will inspire to also look at a look in this direction. And I believe some of them actually do. Now it's a question of making that into application. But you could see, and obviously what is black here or darkish here, it's the fossil fuel, as we know. So that's why it's important to say that, when we have a conversation about what's going to be the source or the position of the continent for COP27. So that's why I'm saying, yes, I know there is a lot of arguments for gas because of transitional fuel. I'm just going to tell you, I agree with that. That may surprise some of you, but I agree with that. I simply say that we should clearly also make sure that, that position that we're taking as a continent, and also recognizing the other contribution, right? And what part they are playing. For example, as I say, hydro has been around ever since independence for many of these countries, right? And will still be around going forward. And clearly as well, when you're having solar and wind there, that's something that's great, right? And also because, as I said, why are we looking for, we say, energy justice, which is the word that I've seen the report and I love it, and climate justice, how to find the right balance. So it's important to look at that. But that map for me, this is something all of you need to know. All of you need to know that and to see where we started from. So it means that, for example, if I'm a country like Cameroon, hey, I'm biased picking up Cameroon. So I shouldn't be just ditching all the hydro resources that I have because I want to run after gas. Because people say that gas is transitional fuel. No. How can I work on what I have already there? Yeah. And if I'm able to put forward a path that allow me to stay as renewable as possible, potentially not using fossil fuel, why not doing it? That's the question, right? How can I keep the hydro there for the base load and solar and wind to compensate, right? That is actually what I'm saying. So gas is not the only conversation that we can have. That's the whole point of me showing that. Yeah. So I'm probably gonna stop sharing this at the moment because I believe I've shared with you. I made a point, and those are the countries that you can see are leading the way in terms of renewable, in terms of energy generation in the continents, right? So that is important to know. So yeah, clearly hydro dominates, and that's why there's not a surprise to know that hydro accounts for about 18% of the full power capacity in the in the continent, right? And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if I bring that to your attention, that you know. So now you know that, okay, if I'm an investor, so for one big investment, you know, hydro is always an option. Geothermal is always an option. Obviously, solar and wind is an option. But I know roughly already where countries have developed a market for some of those resources. Let me just stop there at this point and to see whether there is any question that I would take. At the moment, I don't see any question, so it means that everybody is pretty much satisfied with what they heard, and they have nothing to ask. So, which is also good. Okay, yeah. So, if you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna consider that everything seems to be clear. And just to remind you that obviously, uh, it's down to you as well to suggest question that we can look at, we can discuss to keep it as interesting as possible for you, because I get a lot of message for some of you saying that you're finding our conversation interesting, that informative, educational, brilliant, excellent. So just keep on telling me, because I can't always guess what could be good for you. I need also your participation for you to let me know. And one thing I mentioned as well, so if you're in a business or you're building a business as well into the sector, having this kind of knowledge allowing you to figure out where you can potentially go, right? Where you can potentially go as a country, as an opportunity, and how you can position yourself. And the key thing for me is always making sure that people get to know what is that you offer as a product, as a service. And that's why being visible, having clearly an awareness approach, it's important. And if you want to find out more about that, definitely reach out to us, because our awareness program may be something that allow you to all of a sudden, unlock the potential that your business has. Yep. Let me stop at this point. I believe it was clear, and I don't see any other questions. So I believe that everything is happy by that. Just for me to say that, yeah, as usual, great to be able to talk to you. Great to exchange. And yeah, I take great pleasure to have this conversation. Hoping that it's very useful. Let me know in the comments what you think about the topic. Let me know what you think. Did you know about all these 8 countries, more than 90% electricity generation coming from renewable? Did you know about that? Did you know that Namibia has about 20% solar penetration? What does it mean to you? So clearly, Namibia is a country leading the way, right, for solar, right? Did you know that obviously 46% of electricity generation in Kenya come from geothermal? If you don't know, hey, you want to know that right now, right? So impressive, right? Excellent. Did you know that you have 21 country out of the 20 or out of the other 52 that have obviously hydro as the main source of power? Great, right? This is the kind of thing that I'm hoping that you get to learn. So I have just one question. That's a LinkedIn user. Okay. The person is saying, love the shirt, Tony. Hey, thank you very much. I love it too. That's why I decided to rock it, especially for you. Is that your question? Your shirt? No problem. That is renewable, right? Yeah. I have to make sure that I honor it. So Namibia, it's more desert. Okay, Namibia is more desert than land. Yeah, I know. I know. Namibia, so yeah, it's like Botswana, right? Big part of it is desert. I know. So, but the question is, if it's more desert, what does that mean? It's dry. It means that there are lots of sun. Question always one to be asking ourselves: how can I just harness that sun to turn it into something that could be useful? And it looks like that's what that's what they're doing. So most likely they won't be having a lot of hydro. That's normal. Yeah, it's about recognizing that. But thank you for your contribution. I appreciate it. I can't see any name here. I can only see LinkedIn user. So fortunately, I can't acknowledge you by your name. But let me first of all thanking you for reacting. I appreciate that. Any other question? Otherwise, I'm just gonna call it today for today, and then allow you to go back to yourself. Right? Excellent. So I think the same person saying more solar energy generation opportunities. Absolutely, and that's what's happening. And I know Namibia definitely is tapping into that. Namibia is also tapping onto hydrogen. Yeah, it's very quickly becoming one of the country people are looking at. And I've been to many conferences where obviously you have excellent Namibia representation, so they clearly flying the flag quite high. Yeah, and I can see Anwar. Okay, so Anwar, I don't know if you're based in Namibia yourself, but yeah, so clearly it's a great country, and also it's a country where I would say in terms of the governance, so they may be a better territory than most other countries in Africa for some, but others may think that although the governance seems to be okay, the country is here very too small for them. So it depends what is your risk appetite. So Arnold is saying, Arnold, all of a sudden you you don't want to let me go. Yeah, they would be the largest supplier of H2 in Africa. Uh, I would say, let's see. It's still early days. It's still early days. It's early days because I tell you, early days because you have, if you did not know that, you now have Africa hydrogen alliances, right? Where you have country like Morocco and a country like Egypt as well, clearly want to tap into the industry, and those are uh, bigger country in terms of population, in terms of economy. So yeah, so you that's what I'm saying. It's early days. Definitely Namibia seems to be one of the countries taking the lead, and they seem to be attracting a lot of attention at the moment, especially Germany. But as I say, it's early days. Yeah. So yeah, the hydrogen conversation is only starting. By the way, we talked about the green hydrogen here because the technology was already there, right? So, and then I have, whoa, Anwar, it looked like now you've unlocked people now want to discuss. Okay, let me pick up some. So, as Muslim, Olari Big Bay. Okay. This the same as Sola. It looks like you belong for the same as Sola. Okay. I unfortunately joined the session late. Thank you for the regular update. notwithstanding, they quite fun. Thank you very much. My pleasure, right? So I do that because I like to have those conversations with you, and then keep informing you, and you also inform me. I'm also learning a lot from feedback that I'm getting from people, and also a lot of you actually suggesting topic. That's what it's actually keeping this going. A lot of you are sharing this. That's actually what's keeping it going and growing, right? The audience, the platform. That's what I'm going to be saying. So if you're looking at that, one quick way, easy way you can participate, drop a comment just like what you've done there, and even best, share it, right? So people can get to know it. It doesn't matter. So I know you're joining late, but feel free to watch it again, right? Once I end it, which is going to be in a few seconds there. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'm happy to pick it up and respond, right? So, and you from the same Sola, excellent. So where you based? Are you based in Nigeria? I'm just making a guess, right, from the name, but I could be making a mistake. So if I make a mistake, apologies, right? So, but yeah, guys, always a pleasure for me to see you guys joining from definite from far afield, from different countries in Africa, outside Africa. Brilliant, excellent. So that's what it's all about. Okay, so I think it's about half an hour. So yeah, time for me to go back to my busy day. You may not believe it, but I have about three proposals that I'm preparing for next week, right? So I need to catch up with the team just to make sure we're on track for that. Okay, so excellent conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you for the nice word regarding the shirt. So hopefully you like it. Yeah, excellent. I have to dress up for you, right? Okay, so you have a beautiful day. Excellent start of next week, and don't forget. So we catch up again on Wednesday at 5:30 BST time, and on also Sunday, on also Friday at 1 p.m. BST time. On Friday, it's slightly different. We're talking about renewables and money. We're talking about the business of running a renewable energy business. That's really what it's all about. But for the Wednesday and the Sunday, we're talking about topic that are a lot more generic, right? Right. Easy way to remember. Sunday and Wednesday, we're talking about different topic and around renewables energy, right? More technical stuff, if I may say so. So on a Friday, we talk about anything related to the money, how you run the business per se. Okay, guys, pleasure to see you. So as usual, may the sun be with you, guys. All the best. Ngepelo.